Coming up on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell, Ron Richards, WinTwit Dow, and we've got a different episode. We had so much amazing feedback building up in our catacombs of feedback collection that we decided, why not just make a show that's almost entirely dedicated to your feedback? We start off with a little bit of news, yes, but then we get into it. And let me tell you just right off the top, it has a lot to do with this thing on my wrist, the Pixel Watch. All that more coming up next on All About Android.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is All About Android, episode 602, recorded Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, from Lemongrass to Lemon. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by SecureWorks. Are you ready for inevitable cyber threats? SecureWorks detects evolving adversaries and defends against them with a combination of security analytics and threat intelligence directly from their own counter-threat unit. Visit secureworks.com/twit to get a free trial of Taegis Extended Detection and Response, also referenced as XDR. And by Tanium. Tanium unites operations and security teams with a single platform that identifies where all your IT data is, patches every device you own in seconds, and implements critical security controls all from a single pane of glass. Are you ready to protect your organization from cyber threats? Learn more at tanium.com/twit. And by Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now at rocketmoney.com/Android. Seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. Hello, welcome to All About Android, your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I am Ron Richards.
And I'm WinTwit Dow.
What's up, and welcome everybody. And Win, it is good to have you back.
It is so great to have Win. It is great to have Win back because Win, guess what? This is our 602nd episode.
Woo!
Holy crap.
Celebrate.
600. Celebrate.
I hope you guys realize I'm going to do this 600th episode bit for at least 40 episodes.
It's never going to get old.
That's okay.
Just get ready.
I'm into it. I'm so into it.
It'll never get old, will it? Some of it might get old, but that's okay. I mean, 602, that's two more than the 600 that, we almost didn't even notice and celebrate a couple of episodes
I'm making up
ago.
for missing 600.
Yeah, that's
exactly
what you're doing.
Yeah.
So this is definitely a different kind of episode. Well, we should also mention that when you were out last week because you were at an event, we're going to talk a little bit about that event. We saved the news from that event for this week, which was a good thing because there really wasn't a whole lot of news this week. So it works out. So we're going to talk about that in the news block, a few other stories, and then perhaps for the first time ever, the remaining 3 segments, all feedback. All you.
See, this is the kind of thing we do on the 602nd episode.
This is exactly what we do at 602.
Yep. If you open up your podcasting playbook, I think it's in chapter 14. It says 602 episodes, massive feedback episode. So we're just following the rules that Adam Curry set back in 2004.
That's right. Yeah. It's listed there. You have to read the subheading to find it, but it is there. And this is just how it goes. It's actually kind of perfect too, because just last week, I was noticing how much wonderful email we were getting. We were getting all this excellent email, and we only really have, usually on a normal episode, we have 3 slots to fill with our normal feedback section. And so I think maybe even during the show, I know during pre-show last week, I said, hey, maybe we should have a feedback heavy show coming up sometime soon. Turns out the news worked in our favor because there wasn't a whole lot of news. So we've got a lot of your words that we're going to be reading and your words that we're going to be hearing. We may even have we don't have a video this time, but we do have an audio voicemail, and then we have a bunch of your emails. So, but that's in a moment. First, we've got at least a couple of newsy things to talk about. So, Burke, take us there to the news. As I just heard a really deep sigh from Burke when I said that.
Oh, dear.
That's Burke's got a lot of stuff going on before the show sigh. Hey, welcome back.
Android news.
Burke has a lot of stuff going behind the scenes. He's not having the best day ever either, I think is what it is. So it's okay. You can take a breather. All you're going to need to do is pull up one of, I don't know how many, 50 or 60 email images over the course of this episode. So
it'll be worth it. Well, that's also what you do for the 602nd episode. So yeah.
Yes. All right, Wynn. Tell us a little bit about where you were last week and kind of what was going on there.
Yeah, so I went to the Android Dev Summit. It is the first in-person Android Dev Summit since, the before times. And I was there then, and it was really good to be back. I was sitting front row for all the news. So it's a little bit different format this year. Traditionally, the Android Dev Summit has been a 2-day, technical talk marathon. This year, they're doing things a little bit differently. I think they're just trying a different format and maybe trying to focus on different things. Just reasons. I have qualms about the feedback, but this is not a conference, tech show. This is just a regular tech show. But it was really great. There was kind of like the typical, very developer heavy stuff. And so the October 24th one that I was at last week is the modern Android development themed Android Dev Summit. There's going to be 2 more Android Dev Summits this year. One is on November 9th for, quote, form factors. This is going to be kind of more in depth about non-phone factors. So talk about tablets, your Wear OS, your TVs. We'll get to that in a second. And there's another one on the November 14th called Platform. Which is kind of which is pretty much everything that doesn't fall into the first 2 categories. It's like the everything else.
The remaining bits.
It is a little bit. It's just not called other or miscellaneous. Would be a little bit tragic of a name, so they just called it Platform. The whole thing is a platform. So whatever.
We see right through it. We see right through those words. Is this normally what they do with the Android Dev Summit?
No,
that they've kind of splintered it out into subsections like that?
No, and I'm honestly not sure why. I think they're experimenting with the formats and what people like. I think, I don't know, maybe in post-COVID times, doing a 2-day in-depth, conference where you're just shoulder to shoulder with folks is, I don't know, maybe just different. And who knows what else is going on at Google that they might want to change up the format a little bit. That's what I'm going to say about that. But yeah, it's very different. And I'm a little bit skeptical about it because, to be perfectly frank, I've talked about that on the show. Is that, as much as we on the show talk about tablets and watches all the freaking time, it's a little bit harder to get the dev community to talk about it. And so even at the modern Android development one, where a lot of people went, and it's going to be the American one. I believe the other 2 are in London, and it was planned for Tokyo, but I don't know for sure if that was it. So for the American folks, they got the modern Android development, which has a lot of stuff, including get your drinking cards ready, lots of Compose. I honestly am a little skeptical about who's going to show up to the November 9th Form Factors 1 in London, because again, it's really hard to get devs to kind of start talking about Wear OS and tablets. So yes, everything else that is modern Android development is pretty easy. It's very fundamental, basic stuff. So I'm not sure how this splintering is going to go. I would not be surprised. And maybe that's not giving Google enough credit and the dev team, hi fam, enough credit that maybe they can just make those 2 days fantastic. But it's a little weird. This is very different, especially having it in different locations. But I think that's also travel and people kind of not wanting to kind of reducing travel costs and things like that. I think that's what they're trying to do is create little nexi.
Spread out the opportunity for people to actually make it and not have it so heavily focused on one geographic area or something.
If you're in London and you don't really care about Wear or tablets,
but would you still go because it's there? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that is a thing, though. It depends. So one of the big reasons to go to Android Dev Summit is actually what I guess is usually called the hallway track, which is where you just don't actually go to session and you go walk around and go to the engineering tables, and go talk to Googlers. And actually for the networking. Yeah. That's
the best part of every conference I've ever been to, right? So
and so I worry that if it's restricted and you only get some set, because obviously there's a lot of Android in California in in Mountain View. I just kind of wonder what's it going to be like. But that was also a good part. And by the way, I always like to talk about the feedback loop with Google and the dev community. I talked to some of my favorite Eng folks, and they said for them, Android Dev Summit is just as valuable for that hallway track. Like they get a ton out of people coming up to them and telling them like what they like, what they don't like, what they need, like what they want. So it's a really good opportunity. So I like that's kind of like the best part is just to go meet the Eng and then just have it out about these different things. So it was a great time.
The Eng.
Yeah, the Eng. The Eng.
You know, devs, the Eng.
The Eng. I just started saying that this time is what they said. That's their word. I'm just using it. It's their
well,
word.
there you go. That's just a shortened word that I've not been privy to, I guess. The Eng.
Yeah, there's like the dev advocates and then there's Eng. I guess advocates and Eng. It's all very like, the corporate.
The advocates, why are you calling them advocates? They should be the adv.
Adv.
There's the adv and the Eng. Yeah. So
Advent Eng. Yeah.
Anyways, so what did you see there at this first of three? Collect the whole set. What did you see at the very first event?
Oh, girl, like a whole lot of Compose. Like if I listed all the times Compose was mentioned at the Android Dev Summit and we were playing a drinking game, y'all be in the hospital. But and I joke, but I think it's indicative of a couple things. Is that all of the eggs are in the basket and their commitment is to Compose, and I mean, I think that's basically, and also how much time they've invested into it. It's not just like getting attention to it. It's also providing tools and things that can make Compose even more easily adoptable and usable. And I know we talked about, for example, like they really want to emphasize that Compose is not just like a developer, nicety. It has business impact. And they brought up, Todoist having 50% increase in installs in their Wear OS app from Compose for Wear OS. And to go with that, and so that was one of the kind of, I think, a fairly notable announcement is that, on the tails of Wear OS for Compose, which again helped Todoist to increase the install of their Wear OS app, they are now introducing Compose for Android TV. And so I think one of the themes, apart from Compose, okay, just stop drinking for a minute, is also form factors. So it seems like in general, kind of separate from the kind of the table stakes, keeping the lights on kind of stuff that the Android team has to do to keep us happy, which is like tooling and builds and keeping, the operating system afloat and as bug-free as humanly possible, are like the two themes of like Compose and modern Android development, and also form factors. And I think form factors is just always going to be there. Like, and like as I said, and as happened at the Android Dev Summit, tablets and Wear, I think we all are trying not to be too negative Nelly about it, but it's still a big investment for teams. So I think I think they're just throwing everything they have. That's why they're throwing Compose at it. That's why they're throwing in other form factors like Android TV and trying to encourage devs to create these cross-device, experiences for a brand. It's not just an app anymore. It's a TV app. Mm-hmm. It's a Wear app. It's a tablet app. And so that's
quit thinking of these things as their own isolated thing.
Exactly.
It's all about the unified all devices thing. And if you get developers to think in that fashion, maybe that development will actually happen.
Right. And that's why I think Compose is a big factor, because it's both, it's kind of like the image, like the optics of kind of that unification, both from the customer side and from our side. But it's also literally, it is faster. It is like a faster development experience. So maybe I think they're just going to keep saying, it's faster, y'all, it's faster. Like that ROI thing you keep worrying about might be less of an issue. And please try these things. So that was a big thing. And I mean, like there was a whole bunch of stuff. There's like tons more Compose. And something that you always see is like a lot of tooling. Devs love tooling. And that's like things that help us measure performance, things that help us test and test faster. So there was a whole bunch of that stuff. I could go on for ages about it, but if you are interested, all of the talks are up on the Android Dev Summit site. There was one thing I thought people might like, and I have to be careful a little bit about talking about. But, again, most of these conferences are all about that increasing productivity and workflow. These are very unsexy things I'm saying, but basically when we work faster, the Android faithful get their apps faster and hopefully get them better and safer. Mm-hmm. Something that was really interesting, which we'll have to wait and see. I'm trying to be very careful about talking about it. Is that there's a new thing announced called Relay, which goes from Figma, which is that kind of diagramming, brainstorming web app, and being able to take a Figma design comp and then spit out Compose code. So that's pretty interesting. Hopefully y'all have heard of Figma. I have to be very careful talking about it because I work at Adobe and things. But that's kind of an example of maybe more the forward-facing things, that the more customer-facing things that are hopefully, again, just trying to make things faster. So anyway, if you're using Figma and you're interested in getting into Android, there you go. If you're like a Figma master, maybe you can already start writing some Compose. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. But it was all pretty good. Nice. Hosted by friends of the show, Nick Butcher. Well, Nick Butcher was emceeing, and then of course you saw a lot of also a friend of the show, Florina Muntenescu. So it was a good time.
Nice. There we go. Yeah. Love it. Right on. And you are? Did you say that you are or are not going to the next one? Because it's out of the country at this point.
It's out of the country. It's in London. Yeah. So, oh wait, I am wearing my Android Dev Summit shirt. I had to wear the. Hold on. There it is. Hold on.
There you go. There it is.
Android Dev Summit.
Nice.
Cool.
So yeah.
Nice. Well, welcome back to in-person events again, I suppose. Did it feel kind of like back to normal again as far as that was concerned? I mean, we've had the 2 years of very stilted kind of event experiences and everything.
I will say that hallway track is super valuable. Yeah. Having that direct line, and it was really cool because they had a Q&A session, and they actually had 2 Q&A sessions. They had a Q&A session for the live stream, which is a bit more moderated. So those legal and marketing folks don't have to sweat as much. And then they actually kind of cut the live stream and let the audience, us devs, ask more ad hoc, more candid questions. And I can see why it's really valuable, because there's actually a dev from, I think South America. And they were asking, hard questions about, hey, like Play Store. And I think it was about, what was it about? It was one of the SDKs that is tied to Google Play services. And they were saying, well, I'm in a market where not everyone has Google Play, is able to access the Google Play Store. What can we do about it? Actually, it was about the photo picker. That's what it was. It was about the photo picker, because the new photo picker is tied to Google Play services. So I think seeing that is so amazing, because that's that kind of one-on-one feedback that will get things that eventually get to the Android faithful moving, that kind of feedback from devs, and not just, Southern California in the US, not that there's anything wrong with y'all or anything at all, but, getting a variety of experiences and apps and industries and needs met. So it was really cool. I still wore a mask the whole time because I have respiratory issues, and I was still sitting next to a bunch of people. But they did require vaccinations and tests and stuff. But yeah, it was good to be back and talk to people in person.
Nice.
I miss that. People.
Yeah. People. Turns out they're pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Right on. Cool. Well, I'm happy that we saved that for you to set that all up. That would have been, a little bit lost in translation sometimes when it comes to the announcements of these events, and feel like, we kind of have a duty on this show to talk about some of this stuff. So I just really appreciate you being able to talk about it from a firsthand perspective instead of our translation of it. So,
I know it's a lot of dev heavy stuff, but I would say, like, if it's worth anything, I'm really excited, and hopefully we'll just be getting good apps and app updates to y'all faster. And if you happen to hear any woo woo and screaming, that's probably me. I was in the front row, and Android devs have a thing where if some of the fam sit in the front row, we just scream our heads off for all the speakers, because public speaking is a hard thing. So if you hear a woo on any of the talks, it's probably me. That's just it.
As it should be. There you go.
As it should be. Yes, that is making my mark on Android history.
Nice. Right on. Thank you, Wynn. Ron.
Yeah.
So the news outside of that is very light, but I'm happy with that because we've got some fun non-news to talk about. You've got probably the funnest one.
So, and if anything, we love prototypes in the vast history of Android. And this time we not got one but two for you tonight to celebrate episode 602. The first one was a prototype version of the Pixel 2. Was actually shared on Twitter last week. And looking at it, by all accounts, it looks like a retail Pixel 2, but the 8 megapixel front camera was replaced by an IR filtered front camera, and also an IR ED and cutout on the other side. And the camera app has an IR view, but the phone also includes an app called Iris Demo that allows for registering both irises of a user's eyes for iris scanning security. So way back at the Pixel 2 in prototypes, they were looking at iris scanning for security, which is crazy. And this is actually the same year as this device. Samsung released the Galaxy S Plus with iris scanning security on board with it. So they somewhat keeping up with the Joneses to a certain degree, but never made it out to the real world, which is interesting. So
yeah, the S8. Sorry, that was my typo. It was the Galaxy S8, and if you remember
S8.
that year, they had the iris scanning. The following year, Samsung coupled the iris scanning with the face scanning, so it was like a trusted face or something like along those lines. And so they were all kind of apparently working on this. I'm sure Google has a million different prototypes with a million different ideas for each of their phones, but they even had it. I mean, look at that app. Isn't that an amazing
working.
app?
Look at that. So cool. Look at that. Jason, it kind of looks like you. That kind of looks like you in that shot. For audio listeners, it's an outline of a person's face and with the eyes filled in where you can verify the iris reading. And there you go.
It's hard to Yeah, you're right. It does look like
it does, doesn't it? It does. It lines up. So that was a little Pixel 2 prototype goodness, but my favorite of all these prototypes was the good Android co-founder, Rich Miner, shared some early prototype images of my first Android phone, the Google G1. It still had a similar slider to the T-Mobile G1, which was my first Android phone. But the keyboard is bright green with green accents, and those green accents make their way throughout the entire device. This is so cool. I love it. It looks very European, doesn't it?
I love the color. It's awesome.
Yeah, and so for those audio listeners, the keyboard. Bert just moved away, so I can't describe. Okay, there you go. For audio listeners, the keyboard underneath the screen is like a bright green, and then all the little physical buttons have green accents around it. And it also had a circular ring for directional movement, like a D-pad almost in the upper right-hand corner when it's held horizontally. It had a Google logo in the upper left-hand corner. And basically everything looks very different than the G1 that actually released. Yeah. And as much as I love my T-Mobile G1, I would have loved this phone. This phone looks awesome.
I know. Honestly, between the two designs, if you scroll down just a little bit further in that article, you'll see the standard G1 that was released. And while at the time it was a cool looking phone, you compare these two, and I mean, I feel like it's no question. Why don't you go for that other design? That thing is was sexy.
It looks both very European, but it also looks like what are those kitchen like OXO kitchen utensils you get?
Exactly.
Right? Like it's got a little bit of like the dark with a bright color rubberized kind of thing around it that's working for it.
Well, and what's also striking me is when I look at the traditional G1, it has, it's a very plasticky surround around the display. Honestly, this prototype looks very modern by comparison. Like the display itself.
The curved edges?
The curved edges. There is no like plastic surround around the display, encasing the display in. It's just the display is edge to edge, or at least the glass is, or I don't know if that's glass or plastic. It was probably plastic at that time. But still, it's kind of, that's a nice looking phone for that time.
I would buy that phone today. I would totally buy that phone today.
Yeah. And I look at it all extended with the keyboard showing, and I just think about how satisfying that phone was to click open. Like,
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that not only does that phone prototype look like it'd be satisfying to click open, but if it looks like, and I'm conjecture here, but it doesn't look like there are physical buttons like there was on the original G1. It looks like almost like a rubberized layer on top that would push buttons, which honestly feels like it would be very satisfying to push those buttons in, right? If those are like, that kind of like clicky, kind of rubbery keyboard kind of feel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally looks like that.
It has
good
a little
touch feel.
snap.
Little snap, a little.
I like it. I would get that phone today. Make it work today. I'll do it.
This phone looks a lot nicer than the Motorola Droid. That's all I'm saying.
That was an angular phone.
That was a very angular phone, very ugly phone. I'm finally listening to Chet Haas's book Androids. I don't know why it's taken me this long on Audible. And they talk a little bit about the Motorola Droid in there, about how how no one on the Android team believed that was the final design until they realized, nope, yep, that's the final design. That's
it.
Angular, weird looking, ugly thing is going to take on the iPhone. Sure enough, I mean, hey, Verizon had a really great marketing campaign around it, so it did all right. But maybe it did all right in spite of itself. It was my first Android phone. So that's really cool. And then finally, I was kind of hoping this would happen before showtime, but I'm looking right now and it has not switched. So I was setting this up to be the fact that the time has come. We've waited patiently for Hangouts and the transition away from Hangouts. Like, I feel like every step of the way in its demise, we've talked about it, or at least mentioned, like, okay, the app no longer works, or whatever the other steps are. The very last step is that the web interface for Hangouts was to be deactivated and start redirecting to Google Chat effective November 1st, 2022. And that is what day it is right now. But sure enough, I'm going to it and it's still there. So I thought by showtime, we could have some sort of a ceremony and say, you were wonderful. We don't know why you survived, but there you are. And, all hail our Google Chat overlords. But no, Hangouts apparently on the web still exists, even though it's supposed to shut down today. So there we go.
I already poured one out for Hangouts and everything and mopped up my floor, y'all. I mean,
I know. I mean,
what?
What's the point of setting a deadline for a service to be killed if you don't follow it? I mean, it's almost the end of November 1st. We've got 6 hours on the West Coast here. What's going on, Google? Kill it already. Jeez. So
kill it with fire.
I mean, it wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. I'm with you.
No,
it wasn't that bad.
Pick a lane, Google. I'm sorry, that was overly aggressive, but I've already moved everyone to Signal like years ago. Like, I'm ready. It's just,
Maybe after reading this story just now, like, I'm not going to give you the check-in next week where I say, and they finally did it. Like, I'm just going to kind of call it. Like, Hangouts is done. You won't hear us talk about it. As far as the service being, wound down or ending or anything like that anymore. It'll come up tangentially in other conversations about messaging, because how could it not? But there we go. We will let it go.
It'll be dead to you.
Let it go. You're dead to us at this point, Hangouts.
Well, it could be like the SNL bit that they did when Federico Franco was still alive. I think the SNL news back in that day was like, every week, I think who was doing SNL this time, but like Federico Franco is still alive, so we can just do that every week. It's like still there. I don't know, or the other day, just get out the way.
Yeah, it'll be part of our intro. Weekly news for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. Hangouts web is still alive. I'm Jason Howell. We'll just bake it in. There we go.
Get a countdown there. So.
There we go.
Well, while you work on that, we'll get ready for hardware up next. But first, we're going to...
Well, actually not. Sorry, I didn't change that. It's email, feedback. You won't get any hardware.
Right, we're going to be doing some email up next, so get ready. Steel yourselves, because I'm Ron Burgundy, and I'm not wearing any pants. But first, we're going to thank our first sponsor of the evening, because this episode of All About Android is brought to you by SecureWorks. And SecureWorks is a leader in cybersecurity, building solutions for security experts by security experts. SecureWorks offers superior threat detection and rapid incident response, all while making sure that customers are never locked into a single vendor. SecureWorks offers an open extended detection and response platform called Taegis XDR. And now's the time to get it. Why? In 2022, cybercrime will cost the world $7 trillion, but by 2025, that figure will grow to $10.5 trillion. In 2021, ransomware totaled $20 billion in damages, and attacks occurred every 11 seconds. But by 2031, ransomware is projected to cost $265 billion per year and strike every 2 seconds. That's horrifying. So make sure your organization is not the next victim with SecureWorks Taegis XDR. SecureWorks Taegis provides a superior detection, identifying more than 470 billion security events per day, prioritizing the true positive alerts, eliminating alert noise, and allowing organizations to focus on the real threat. In addition, Taegis offers unmatched response with automated response actions to eliminate threats before damage is ever done. With SecureWorks Taegis Managed XDR, you can easily leverage SecureWorks experts to investigate and respond to threats on your behalf so that you can cut dwell times, decrease operational burden, and reduce cost. And with 24/7 by 365 coverage, whether you experience a Christmas Day security event or half your team is out sick, you can trust that SecureWorks is behind you. Many companies are facing a shortage of security talent. SecureWorks acts as an extension of your security team on day one, alleviating cybersecurity talent gaps and allows you to customize the approach and the coverage level you need. What happens if you already found an intruder in your system? There's no need to worry. I want you to write down this number. It's 1-800-BREACHED. That number will connect you with the SecureWorks Emergency Incident Response Team, and they can provide you with immediate assistance 24/7 in responding to and remediating a possible cyber incident or data breach. At SecureWorks, you can learn more about the ways today's threat environment is evolving and the risks it can present to your organization, including case studies, reports from their counter threat unit, and more. Visit secureworks.com/twit to get a free trial of Taegis XDR. That's secureworks.com/twit. SecureWorks, defending every corner of cyberspace. And thanks, SecureWorks, for defending us on the regular. We appreciate it.
Thank you, SecureWorks. All right, we are going to deliver to you your own words. That's
so
what
many words.
We're going to deliver it to you. Sure. We'll play a random bumper. Yeah, it's okay. No, you can do that. There are no rules today. If you want to play that bumper,
no rules.
Just go to it. Yeah.
That's the rules of 602. There are no rules.
That's right. Yeah. We don't even need to see it. Or we can see it. See? We can go. Yeah, we can go any which direction you want to go, Bert.
Chaos.
So we, like I said earlier, we got a bunch of really great feedback. I was like collecting awesome feedback last week that we couldn't quite possibly fit in. And then this week, I don't know, y'all listened when we asked you to email us about things around the Pixel Watch, because we got a lot on the Pixel Watch. So
and I've got thoughts too. I need to hold my thoughts until the email, but I have thoughts.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's going to be plenty of opportunity.
Thoughts.
We've got thoughts all over the place. Our thoughts and yours. So why don't we just jump right in? And I think this first block of email is not related to the watch, and I think the rest of them really are. Not just the Pixel Watch, but wearables in general. So there's a little bit of a theme there. And you'll notice at the end of each segment before every ad, a little surprise. So wait for that. First of all, John from Longmont wrote in to say, I have Peter's 895. He's talking about the Chrome tabs. Remember, Peter weeks ago emailed in to say, hey, I've got 895 Chrome tabs in my Chrome. Beat that. Well, John says, I can beat that. Can I get my 1,095 tabs certified by AAA as a world record? Who needs Guinness? I want AAA's recognition. This represents almost 2 years of using mobile Chrome on this phone. For every tab I have left open, I would guess I have closed 10, probably more. I really wanted to go back and try to find the articles and sites that Google's very good algorithms have served up to me. There were a lot of articles and research sites related to the industry I work in buried within some admittedly junk tabs. But after realizing the time it would take to do that and hearing you could only find the number you had open by deleting them, I figured I would just rip off the Band-Aid and, in service to this great Android podcast, find the number. YOLO. And he actually has a video. And so if you want to play the video, Burke, it's that link and you can witness it in action. And I'll read the rest of the email as well. He says, do any of you have a suggestion for an app or even an alternative mobile web browser that allows for quicker and more complete organizational capabilities while on my phone? I just downloaded Pocket. It seems promising, but would love to hear. Oh, there they are. They're all gone. 1,095.
I'll certify that.
That was verified. Price, John. That was amazing. Love it.
Would love to hear if we have any other suggestions outside of Pocket. He says, maybe I should just drastically pare down my bookmark folders. Yeah, when you're talking about 1,000 tabs and everything, I don't know how you organize that on a mobile device. I feel like on a desktop, things like that are just a little bit easier, at least to my brain. But yeah, Pocket is what I use. If there are any bookmarks that I want to save, I do that. I've gotten more in the habit. It's not perfect, but I've gotten more in the habit of tagging things as I'm marking them. So if it's Android, actually, if it's anything for the show, I don't tag anything because then it just ends up in my main feed. If it's anything outside of the show, then I tag it. If it's music related, if it's technology or a how-to or whatever it is. So that is my organization of choice. What about y'all?
I also use Pocket. I'm also going to say hi to my dear friend Marcin, who works on the Pocket app. So don't just use it because Marcin's awesome, but yeah, I've been using Pocket for years, even before I ever met Marcin. And yeah, it's. I think it has a good blend of, organization. I think actually does also allow some offline reading. So I used to do that a lot for work when I had a bunch of tabs of tech stuff to look at. And I was going on a plane, I would just offload it or just offline everything and be able to read from Pocket, which has really decent integration and display. So I still like Pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great for offlining. Yeah, if you're going to be on a flight and you won't have that internet access or whatever, and you still want to read your news or whatever, it's a great way to do it. What about you, Ron?
I mean, I don't. I just use Chrome, and I still use the way I use my phone and my device. Because keep in mind also that I've got no commute time. My commute time is about the 30 seconds it takes me to walk from the kitchen to my office, right? I don't spend a lot of time reading on my phone, and so my phone becomes a triage device, right? So I actually keep I keep my browser pretty clean with no I'm looking right now. I have 13 tabs open right now. And honestly, 6 of them are Walt Disney World restaurants I've been trying to get reservations for this weekend. So that doesn't count. But usually I consume something and then it goes away. When I do need to save something, I find I Slack it to myself, and then I go back to Slack, get the link, and then read it either at my desk or on the phone when I have an opportunity to. So I used Pocket back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm mainly on Chrome. I also have Firefox Focus on here that every now and then I use just instead of Chrome, but that doesn't help me for organizational. That's just more for security. So yeah.
There you go. I mean, and that's all of that is to say also that even though I use Pocket for things I want to save, so much stuff goes through randomly on Chrome and it all builds up and then I have to clear it out. So for me, there's no getting around that. It clutters up the way I use my phone. It builds up. Not quite 1095 build up, but builds up nonetheless. So it doesn't solve that, I guess is my point. But there you go. I hope that's helpful. Thank you for writing in, John. All right, when you got the next one?
All right, we've got another John. Oh, before I go, I missed chat correcting me that the former dictator of Spain was Francisco Franco. So
yes.
In case you were starting feedback and wanting to say when, no, it's Francisco
there
Franco.
We go.
Okay, just wanted to clarify. I'm an engineer, not a historian, my bad. But we have another email from a John, this time John from Atlanta. And John writes, I am a first-time Pixel user. To be more accurate, I was a first-time user.
Oh, no.
I bought the Pixel 7. Sad to say, my experience was not good. I received the phone on Thursday afternoon and dropped it off at FedEx Sunday afternoon.
Dang.
No way I was going to waste more time with it. Here's what happened. Oof. Great start.
I know.
Within a few minutes of use, I noticed issues with scrolling, very choppy, fairly smooth in the app drawer in certain apps, but elsewhere not smooth at all. Touch sensitivity was a mess. I had to tap multiple times quite often before it was recognized. There were also a number of other minor bugs, which I'm not going to bother to list here. The worst part was cellular connectivity. On Saturday, I drove a short distance from my house and made a few stops along the way. The Pixel took forever to try to switch from Wi-Fi, which I was usually utilizing at home, to 5G, 4G LTE. Initially, the Pixel 7 never properly connected to cellular. I was not able to make any calls. The internet was extremely slow and unusable. I rebooted the phone and was able to make some calls. Download speed was fairly normal. I kept testing both away from home and at home. Multiple times I had to reboot in order to use the phone. By Saturday night, I had the phone boxed and ready to be sent back. No one should have to reboot a phone while keeping your fingers crossed in order to make a call.
Amen.
I guess the overall theme from my brief experience with Pixel 7 is annoyance and disappointment. Google has had a long time to get a handle on these connectivity problems. It seems to be a very common problem with the Pixel 6 series. Why is it still a problem 1+ years later with the Pixel 7 series?
Ouch. That's
yeah.
I mean, it's rough. And I'm sure that John is not alone. I'm sure plenty of people have had a similar experience. Yes, with the Pixel 7. I'm sure, that's the hard thing. It's hard to know exactly what this drills down into because this happens with other phones too, right? And it doesn't happen for everyone. So we might have the Pixel 7 and not encounter these issues, but you certainly did. And I don't deny or doubt that whatsoever. John, it happened to you. And if that happened to me, I'd be in the same shoes as you, but it didn't. So it's just strange to me how that works that way. Sometimes for some users, worst experience in the world, and you understand why they're sending it back. But for other users, things are going just fine. I haven't experienced any of that stuff, and I feel that's very common with phone issues. A lot of the people that write in complaining about certain things with phones, we end up hearing from a lot of other people that are like, I didn't experience any of that. It's been great for me. I don't know where where that line is drawn.
Yeah, it's weird. Everybody has their own unique kind of moment, right? And sometimes it hits and sometimes it fails, right? And I don't know. The thing is that now I'm looking, I want to see if other people have had similar experiences, because what you want to look for is you want to look for commonality, which are indicators of problems, right?
Yeah.
But I haven't heard anybody other than John with these issues. So.
Well, Burke in Slack said this was his exact experience with the Pixel 6.
Well, there it is.
And it was fixed
Pixel
months
6.
later, months capitalized. So eventually, are you willing to wait it out, though? Obviously, John was not willing to wait it out. And I understand.
Yeah,
that would be super
talk about short, not attention span, but patience with the device. Jeez.
Well, yes, but at the same time, when you buy a device from Google, if you're buying it through the device store or Google's store, you do have a return window. And so if you experience this, absolutely, you kind of have to make that decision. Yeah. And if your entire experience with it in that short amount of time is frustration,
Wait a minute. How long is the return window from the Google Play Store?
Well, I'd have to look it up.
Burke says it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think it's a 2-week return window. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I got to check. When you bought it or when you received it?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Usually it's when you receive it. From my experience ordering too many phones lately, but
oh Jesus, I gotta check the check my receipts. Maybe I don't know. We'll talk later.
We'll talk in a bit about that.
Okay. But before we do that, I know we're always advocating, and I'm always saying, hey, you don't have to just email us. You can actually send in audio if you want to. And Rory Glynn took us up on that. So let's hear from a member of the community, Rory.
Hey, Burke and the rest of the All About Android team. Just thought I would drop you guys a line with some advice for Ron on his Bluetooth headphones. I had a similar issue with Bluetooth headphones that were disconnecting when I walked through an area with lots of different Wi-Fi hotspots and stuff, a lot of noise on 2.4 gigs. It turned out that resetting them would do the trick. When they're reset and they're only paired to one device, they tend to be a lot more stable. At least that was my experience. If that doesn't work, I would recommend trying some Aftershocks or Shocks bone conducting headphones. I got some of those, and if you don't like things in your ear, they're really good. And yeah, love the show, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Rory.
Cool.
Would that be helpful?
I mean, I'm running through a residential neighborhood where the houses are very close to each other because we're by the beach. Maybe there's lots of Wi-Fi that was causing the disconnecting, reconnecting issues.
Yeah, like that interference. Yeah, that totally could be.
Thank you, Rory. I will look into resetting the headphones, although I might be moving on from my Nexigo cheapo Bluetooth headphones because I ordered the Nothing ear sticks.
Oh, you did?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Wow.
And they have shipped. They should be arriving next week. So look forward to a future review of that.
Heck
but hey,
yeah.
Nothing gave us a Bluetooth wireless headset that doesn't go in your ear. And I said, that's my threshold. So I pulled the trigger on it. So we will see. And while I was listening to Rory, I looked in the Google Play Store and my return window on my Pixel Watch ends on Friday.
Oh, okay. If let's just say you might, for whatever reason that we don't know about yet, decide that you don't want it.
And we will hold on. That'll be a tease for later in the show. Because actually, and then I've got a note before we talk about after the next email, Jason, I have a note before we move on to the ad. So just a mental note for that.
I'll give you $300 for it, Ron.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I can get full price if I return it.
Don't fall for it, Ron.
Why would I do that?
I don't know. He almost got you, though.
Almost.
Just be careful. Be careful of that bird. He's shifty. And I told you there was going to be a surprise at the end of each of these email blocks, and that is that we've got not one, not two, but 3 emails of the week this week. That's right, because we got 3 blocks of email. Why not?
That was my note, Jason, was that I was doing Rory's thing and I saw the email of the week was the next one, and I panicked because I looked at the time. I'm like, did we just blow through the show?
Are we already
I thought
behind?
we went way too fast.
No. So I should have told you apparently about this too, Ron. But yes, we got 3.
I also could have read the document, and which I did
helps.
read the document. For some reason, I didn't see the indicators of the email of the week.
I know, it's only orange. Bhavneet Singh from Delhi, India, wrote in to say, let's give JR's Android tips a competition this week with this amazing assistant feature. Let's say you want to read an article, but you didn't want to read it exactly. So what you do is you go to that article and then you just fire up the assistant and you say, read it. And the assistant will start reading that article. It is very useful once you get in the habit of it, and it works like a charm. You can also skip to another sentence. You just tap on the word, and it will start reading from there. If you want to change the voice or the speed, you have that option too. And when it starts reading any article, it gives you media controls and notifications so you can go to any app, and it still plays in the background. It works flawlessly in any browser or some apps like Google News or Discover Feed. But if you want Assistant to start reading an article in an app like Instagram, it will not do it. You have to open that article in a browser and it can read it from there. In fact, it works so good that I dare Jason to open up his phone and use this feature on the first article in his feed live. Ooh, that is a dare.
There it is.
Okay.
Oh, snap. Hold out.
The first article in my feed. So let's see here.
Let's see it.
Okay, so I'm opening it up. I've swiped over to Discover, and it looks like my first article is titled, it's a high quality article. I was caught stealing from Walmart's self-checkout. It means that other stores can now track me even though I ... Okay, so I'm going to go into that. So I've opened it up. It's on the U.S. Sun. This is a high quality article we're talking about here. And then, I'm sorry, I'm going to trigger some homes, so mute yourself. Hey, Google, read it. Oh. My watch is reading something about audiobooks. That's not supposed to work. Okay. How do I get my watch to not do that?
By the way, speaking of the watch, I've had lots of misfires of the watch doing the thing that I was talking to the hub about.
Okay.
Not a lot of good inter-device connectivity between the watch and other devices.
Dear.
Okay, so that's no good. Hey, Google, read it. Oh.
Okay.
Here we go.
From the U.S. Sun. I was caught stealing from Walmart self-checkout. It means
Wow.
other stores can now track me even though I was let go.
Not bad.
Bye.
Lovely.
A shopper who was caught stealing from Walmart.
Okay,
Whoa.
so it's reading it.
Let them go.
If I go down here, there's a little speed thing, right? I can tap that.
Asking what will happen next.
That's really cool.
That was great. She also skipped all of the,
all the
she's
other
skipping
stuff.
the
I noticed
captions.
that.
Yeah, and like the
byline.
Yeah.
Asset protection.
Like share, Twitter, share. What's it like? I expected to hear that, but we
Then
didn't.
I can skip.
Mention happened.
You can squip too.
I can squip.
Dead to rights, likely on camera the entire time, into a nationwide system.
That's really cool.
There you go.
That's great. That's
This
fantastic.
should be the email of the week.
Your picture was taken.
That's why it is.
in the system under the
And
settings.
it continues reading even with the display off.
APIs. Your file was updated.
So, you can continue walking. You're on your walk and it's just playing, and you can, so there you go. That is a really cool tip, Bhavneet. Thank you
very
so
cool.
much for sending it in. That is why you are one of 3 emails of the week. All right. Good stuff. Just really good stuff. We've got more feedback coming up, and I think from here on out, it might be wearables related. I think the next block is all response to our Pixel Watch discussion from last week. And I know you've got thoughts to tack onto that, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
And you might even have thoughts, Win. I don't know about the Pixel Watch. We're going to hear about all this stuff coming up. But first, this episode of All About Android is brought to you by Tanium. The industry's approach to cybersecurity is fundamentally flawed. Did you realize that? IT management and security point tools offer only a small piece of the solution that's needed to protect the environment, your environment. And many of them promise they can stop all breaches, when in fact they absolutely cannot. Making decisions based on stale data and trying to defend your critical assets from cyber attacks with tools that don't talk to each other is no way for IT teams especially, to navigate today's attack surface. So it's time for a different approach. Tanium says it's time for a convergence of tools, endpoints, and IT operations and security. They have solutions for government entities, education, financial services, retail, healthcare, and you can trust their solutions for every workflow that relies on endpoint data. So that means you can track down every IT asset you own instantaneously with their asset discovery and inventory capabilities. You can find and fix vulnerabilities at scale in seconds with their risk and compliance management capabilities. They've got threat hunting, so you can hunt for sophisticated adversaries in real time. Client management, that's automation of operations from discovery to management. And then sensitive data monitoring, that's indexing and monitoring sensitive data globally in seconds. Tanium protects organizations where other endpoint management and security providers have failed. They've got a single platform. Tanium identifies where all your data is across your entire IT estate, patches every device you own in seconds, and implements critical security controls, all from a single pane of glass. Kevin Bush, the vice president of IT at Ring Power Corp, says Tanium brings visibility to one screen for our whole team. If you don't have that kind of visibility, you're not going to be able to sleep at night. Take it from Kevin. With real-time data comes real-time impact. If you're ready to unite operations and security teams with a single source of truth and confidently protect your organization from cyber threats, it's time that you met Tanium. To learn more, visit tanium.com/twit. That's Tanium, Tanium, tanium.com/twit. We thank them for their support of All About Android. All right, Win, it's back to you, starting off this cornucopia of wearables emails.
Oh boy.
Ron, did you want to make a note before we get into the Pixel Watch Fest?
No, we'll get to it. I mean, let's get through these three. Get through this batch, and then I'll chime in about my Pixel Watch adventures. Let's do that.
And so will I.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not a hint. Maybe it is.
Let's hear from everybody else first.
All right. Well, to start, we have. Sorry, I just closed. I lost it. 1 second. Nothing's happening. Everything's fine.
Happened. Nothing to see.
Nothing's happening. Well, what we have is we have Paul from Satellite Beach, Florida, writing to us to say, I listened to your Pixel Watch review last week and have some additional comments about battery life from my experience with the watch non-LTE version over the last 2 weeks. At first, like Ron, I was disappointed by the battery life, but have made a few settings changes that have made a big difference. These were recommended by Joanna Romero at Chrome Unboxed. Here are the tips. Number 1, disable the always on display. Number 2, turn on bedtime mode. If you sleep with your watch, stops notifications and the screen from waking up. Number 3, set the screen timeout to 10 seconds. Number 4, tailor your notifications to just the ones you want to get on your watch. Number 5, turn off reminders to move. This is so annoying anyway. With these settings, I have settled into a really good routine of making it all day and night with at least 30% of my battery remaining in the morning. After I wake up, I put it on the charger while I make my morning coffee, check email and the news. The watch is usually fully charged after only 30 minutes. Ready for my morning workout. Hope this helps. Mm-hmm. And 30%, not bad. Very good tips too. Very reasonable.
Can I counter?
Yes.
Can I give a counter from the Discord? Cousin of Ja says, well, if we have to turn all these things off, why are we paying $400 for it?
It's fair question. Fair question.
Very fair.
I mean, which is not to say that these aren't great tips to extend the battery on the device. I don't doubt that at all. We actually got more on this. Ron, you can go ahead and read the next, because I think all of these kind of follow a similar beat.
So Benjamin writes in and says, I heard Ron complaining about the battery life on the Pixel Watch in episode 601. He said he'd only gotten 12 hours. I was just wondering what his settings are. On my Pixel Watch, I'm getting 25 to 30 hours of battery life, and I have AOD and HG detection disabled. I should do that. I have found both of those features are a big battery drain while simultaneously being unnecessary. I charge my watch in the mornings and wear it to bed every day. I also agree with Ron about Pocket Casts not being on Wear OS. It's quite a bummer. However, the Wearcasts app you're using also has a phone app that you could have used to subscribe to the podcast you want instead of having to do it on the watch. Oh, I'll get to that, Benjamin, by the way. Benjamin says, overall, I've been extremely happy with my Pixel Watch. It is a massive improvement over my old TicWatch C2. That's great, Benjamin. I'm glad that you like it. I actually do have always on display on and HG detection on. And actually said earlier, I've been having a lot of cross things. And the thing that gets me about that is, yes, I could probably turn it off and be fine in the house, but when I go out in the world and actually want to use it, then it's off. And then I got to turn it, you know what I mean? Like it's you keep having to make these Sophie's choices to either get more battery life or to get the watch to work when it should just work the way it should work. I don't know. But call me crazy. The AOD though is a good point. I should turn that off. So.
Yeah, well, and I think what I'm noticing between these things is, maybe you don't do all of these things, but here is like a little menu of options that you can pull from. What is important to you? Is the always on display an important feature to you? Do you always want the watch to be showing information? Apparently I don't have it because, when I just looked at it, the screen was off. So I apparently don't have that on all the time. Do you need your assistant to fire off on your watch if you've also got your phone with you? I mean, but the flip side to that is, but why do we have to make those changes in order to get it to the point to where Google kind of sold you on it to begin with? They kind of sell you on the fact that this thing's going to go all day, but then you realize, well, yeah, it goes all day, but during that testing, we deactivated all these things and made it blah, blah, blah. And I don't know. It just kind of feels at least a little deceitful.
Yeah, especially the always on display, because those are the kind of things I always tout, and obviously those are the things that cost the most battery. Yeah. I have to admit, as a dev, I think, I'm not trying to justify, I think these are all valid complaints, and I think there's definitely something missing in the Q&A testing, real life pragmatism, a lot of these features. I do think it's like when you're developing something, it's very easy to get tunnel vision, because if it works for you in a certain set of situations, to kind of forget what real people what real usage is. And I don't know a good way of test, maybe it's really difficult to test all day wear in an efficient manner, and not saying that they shouldn't do that. They should figure it out as Google. But that's just like a thing. I think a lot of times when you're deving, you're always deving for best options, like full internet, I don't know, doing not actually running or not actually having all these things. And you kind of just box yourself into testing this one little bit, and maybe just like you miss the forest for the trees. Is that the right phrase here?
Yeah.
And I don't know what the answer is, because it's Google. I mean, a lot of people there are way smarter than me, but I don't know how to close this gap between this is how real people use this stuff with, all my fam over there, like doing their best to make a good product. There's a gap there that I don't understand personally.
Yeah. Yeah, good point. And then we got Hilton, who wrote in to say, responding to Ron's Pixel Watch review, I was considering the Pixel Watch earlier, but I was disappointed in the tiny size and small battery. I think a lot of Ron's issues are solved by the Galaxy Watch 5 Pro and the Samsung ecosystem, which is much more tightly integrated with Wear OS.
Just change everything you use. That'll solve your problem.
Well, it's one approach. Yeah. Also, the sleep tracking and battery life and charging speed makes more sense on the Galaxy Watch. For me, the watch lasts about 2 days on a charge, but I never take it off and charge it overnight. I charge it in the morning while showering and getting ready for work, and again for 30 to 40 minutes while watching TV before bed. This keeps the battery level high enough to get through the day and track my sleep. I should have said before, this is my 5th watch going back to the original Galaxy Watch, so I've seen the iterations and have adjusted my usage to the way watches work. Your mileage may vary. Keep up the great show for another 600 episodes and beyond. Thank you, Hilton. Yeah, so, that's it. Go to Samsung's world.
I honestly, I mean, just hop over to Samsung. But I think aside from just move to Samsung as being the answer, what Hilton is showing is that you figure out how to make the watch work for you. And the battery is so small, it does charge very quickly, right? So there's no reason why I can't be charging while I'm doing the show right now and then wear the watch to bed and track the sleep and all that sort of stuff. So like those little kind of tips and hacks are interesting. I do think before we get to the next email, I think it's an appropriate time to give an update on where I'm at with my watch. Yes. So it's been fine. Like one of the things that I'm hearing from everybody throughout all these emails and all this community feedback is that you need to have the time to sit down and to work with it and to figure out what works for you and make these little tweaks. And to be honest, where I am in my life right now, I don't have that time. Mm-hmm. If I'm not working, I'm dealing with my kids or I'm whatever. Like I find myself having little hobby tinker time. So I haven't had a chance to really sit down and dig into all the settings and make tweaks and see adjustments, stuff like that. I need to wear it and go. That's why AOD is already on. That's why I haven't made those tweaks. So that's one aspect of it. That's a me problem. It's not a watch problem. But I this past week, so I'm running a half marathon on Sunday, this coming Sunday. I'm going down to Disney World. I'm running the half marathon down there. So this past weekend was my week before the half marathon long run. I ran 10 miles. And so I was like, all right, this is going to be, kind of a great test or whatever of it. I think that the combination of my knee hurting and my body being physically tired, plus the frustration this watch and Wearcasts in particular gave me, made me want to rip the watch off my wrist and throw it into the Long Island Sound.
No.
Because while trying to run 10 miles, and it might be the Nexigo earphones might be to blame too here. This is what I was having happen. I did download the Wearcasts phone app. And I was like, there's got to be, as someone mentioned earlier, I forgot who mentioned it exactly, but who was it? It was what I was reading. Anyway, one of our previous emailers said that, the Wearcast stuff does have a phone app. I did do that. That app is garbage.
No,
I encourage everyone to check it out. It's not even, it's like pre-material design, right? And so I'm like, okay, fine. Let me subscribe to a couple of podcasts. I'll set what I want here, and then it will send it to the watch. And this might be going back to my problem, not having the time. So the watch connects via Bluetooth, it connects via Wi-Fi, and it connects via LTE. And I got stuck in this stupid loop with the app where I downloaded a podcast to transfer to the watch. It says transferring via Bluetooth is too slow. Okay to switch. And so yes, switch. It disables Bluetooth on the phone, on the watch. And then the watch is no longer connected to the phone, and the podcast transfer never happens. Right? Like, so I'm missing something. I didn't have the time to figure it out.
Yeah.
So what I figured was the night before the run, I went on the stupid app and I said, let me download all my podcasts and stuff like that. I did that the night before thinking if it's going to go slowly, it'll just go, they'll be there. Yeah. I assumed they were there. I don't think they were, because I would listen to about 20 minutes and then it would stop.
Oh, no.
And then I'd have to go into the app and go press play again, and I get another couple more minutes. Also, while I was running, the volume just went down.
Oh, goodness.
And so then I'd have to stop running, and I'd have to hit the crown button, go scroll down to settings, go down to sound, go to media volume and turn it back up, and then go back to Wearcast and press play. Like, and the screen is so small, and I'm just like, it was so unbelievably frustrating. Additionally, my wife texted me via WhatsApp, which is on my phone, but it doesn't have a Wear OS app. But at home, I just used, the microphone assistant to just give a response. An assistant sent the email or sent the message via WhatsApp. Whether the phone didn't stay connected to my phone being away via LTE or whatever, but none of the messages I sent got through. Like, it was just a fail up and down.
Oh, that's frustrating.
So now, and to this point, I can't stop running to troubleshoot why the podcasts are stopping playing, or why. And so at one point I got fed up. I'm like, forget it. I'm not gonna listen to podcasts. I'm just gonna listen to music. So I pulled up YouTube Music. I scrolled to my race playlist, my running playlist. I pressed play, and I'm on LTE. The reason why I got the LTE version was because I want to be able to get data anywhere and not have to worry about anything. And I was getting 30 seconds of a song, and then it would stop, and then it'd go back to the beginning of the song. Like, it was just like nothing worked. Nothing worked. So now that I find out that my
actively hates you.
Yeah, I think it actively hates me. So now that I'm finding out the return window is this Friday, I'm leaning towards returning it because it has not made my life better at this point.
Well, that is quite a summary. But when your next email might be a solution for Ron.
Is it? Hold on. I just lost. I just lost my place.
Wow.
Wait, sorry. Is it now a good time? Wait, sorry. Do we want to talk? So back to the Samsung thing, real quick. Is it?
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay, no worries. Hi, this is my Google Watch, or this is the Pixel Watch that I bought. I even got the Lemongrass band because when we had to Shaka on, him and I were just like, ooh, Lemongrass is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep.
I have not been able to pair this with my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 4.
What do you mean?
Nothing at all. Like, so it'll show it. Well, it's out of power now because I gave up on it. It showed the little, hey, you need to pair this to a device. Got my Z Fold out, got the Pixel Watch on there. They see each other. It actually shows like the matching code. And somewhere in pairing with the device, it quits. It quits and it says try again. And I do it again. I've restarted the phone. I've restarted the Pixel Watch. I've tried to turn the Wi-Fi on. I think there's a laundry list of other things that I know Burke suggested I try before the show. A $400 watch should not.
Oh my goodness!
I
just
can't.
Bracelet.
Like
it's a bracelet.
It's a bracelet. They see each other, and I can't tell what's the problem. Like, it doesn't say have Wi-Fi on. Doesn't say have this on. Doesn't say have anything on. So yeah, I want to give this a shot, but I'm like,
can't.
I can't. And is it across
ecosystem?
Yeah, I was like, why is it a cross ecosystem thing? Is it literally now, even though it's like that's defeating the purpose of Android? Like, all the things are supposed to work with the other things. Like, oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. Android Dev Summit gave us all a gift. Guess what they gave us?
Pixel Watch.
Yeah, look.
So you got two now?
Of these. I'm going to give this to a friend of mine that is actually using a Pixel. I have a Pixel 7. I love my Z Fold 4 so much. I've had a hard time wanting to switch over with my daily driver. And I will do that maybe just to see if this pairs. I mean, I had three phones around me, Dev Life, maybe, I don't know, it's confused, but it literally was seeing the phone and the watch were seeing each other and they just didn't pair. It just constantly, when pairing with a device, it would just fail.
I wonder. So CJ in chat is asking if you could contact Google and get an RMA and have them send you a new one. I wonder if it's device specific. I don't know. Yeah,
maybe. I think to be totally fair, I should RMA it and see. Well, I'm going to send this to a friend, so I don't want to open the box. That might be it. And I'm going to try because it's kind of heartbreaking because honestly, like, I really do believe there's a lot of potential in this device for the ecosystem. And I talked to actually the dev advocate for Wear. Her name's Sarah Hamilton. She's an amazing person. She's also amazing for putting up with all the dev antipathy. And she said some people came up to her with really cool ideas for Wear OS. I think people are getting excited, but if this is my test device and it's not working,
and you can't even get it working. Yeah,
I don't know how that's going to overcome this dang app antipathy and like tiredness of this stuff don't work. And I'm not going to, I've already spent half an hour to an hour trying to make this work. So maybe that's my bad. And you're right. I should RMA CJ, but sorry, that's my Pixel Watch adventure. Hey, look, I got a $50 band. Is this pretty? It's a
nice bracelet. Nice
bracelet. It's a beautiful color.
Nice bracelet.
Lemongrass bracelet. There you go.
Lemongrass. So yes, I will. Maybe I'll RMA and try again. And if it happens again, I hate that this is my experience. I want this to be a thing. I want this to work.
Yeah.
I think the phone it actively hates me too, Ron. I don't know. I don't know.
It listened to us giving reviews and decided that we're not going to get the worst one. So.
You're not going to get the good side of me, the watch.
Oh, how dare you pair me with a Samsung Z Fold 4? What am I, a Galaxy Watch 5? Which is what I imagine it's saying right now on my desk. Anyway, so we have another solution from Jay, just Jay. And Jay, for your solution to our Pixel Watch woes, you are also the email of the week. And Jay writes us saying, was listening to Jason's and Ron's thoughts on the Pixel Watch on All About Android number 601 and couldn't help but smile while looking at the Amazfit watch, the T-Rex Pro I have on my wrist. I migrated to Amazfit after the Fitbit Versa became a bit long in the tooth. Then the alternatives I had considered, Fitbit itself, Samsung, did not entice me as much as Amazfit did. So I pulled the trigger and got the T-Rex Pro. One of the best decisions I've made. The operative word with Amazfit is compromise. If you're willing to compromise some features with other watches that other watches have, you're going to get a great device. The compromises? All of the watches don't have NFC for payment, no LTE, limited amount of apps and watch faces through their app, although there's a third-party app for watch faces, which is actually pretty good. But, big but, you get interstellar battery life. I mean, I'm getting between 10 to 12 days on a charge. Granted, I turn off the always on display and I don't wear it for bed, so no sleep tracking, but it goes. My model has all of the sensors, including blood oxygen, GPS tracking, and some basic apps, alarm, timer, compass, find my phone, that are just good enough. Recent models include these: Alexa integration, microphone and speaker, and other things. The ZEP app, ZEPP app, funny name, is fully functional and sends data to Google Fit, Strava, etc. Works both on Android and iOS. Pixel Watch is $350 US. The Amazfit GTR 4 is $180. Worth considering? Yes?
Yes.
10 to 12 days. I mean, my little Whoopie dupe, which has no screen, is like 2 to 3 days. So that's
crazy.
That's crazy. I'm not giving it up, but that's still crazy and that's amazing. And actually is very tempting.
Yeah.
Very tempting.
Good solution there. It's still, though, I will also point out, still making some compromises, turning off always on display. Not doing the sleep tracking, although that might not be important to Jay. That's important to someone out there. So I guess no matter what wearable you're getting, there's probably compromises to be made. But what do you get for those compromises? And it seems like with the Pixel Watch, you make those compromises and you get it close to what we hope a full day smartwatch can do. With something like the Amazfit, you make those compromises and you get 12 days of battery life, which is a big difference. But, anyways. So that's a pretty cool alternative, gotta say. Good stuff, Jay.
Fascinating.
Thank you for writing that in. Thank you for being the email of the week, part deux.
There it is. So, the one thing I have gotten some joy out of with my Pixel Watch phone has been playing with the watch faces. And I guess I'm not alone because J.R. Raphael, our good friend's got a little tip related to watch faces here. So let's hear what J.R.'s got to say.
Hey, lovely to see y'all as always. So, all right, we've been talking about all this new Google hardware over these past couple weeks. And today I want to tackle one more tip in that same general department. But this one isn't about a Pixel phone. It's about a Pixel Watch. And here's what's even better. It'll actually work with any Wear OS watch you've got and give you an especially exceptional googly experience. All right, so here it is. This tip is all about a watch face I stumbled onto called Pixel Minimal. Pixel Minimal. Great name, right? It's so good, in fact, so in line with what you'd expect from a Pixel branded product. It's honestly just kind of shocking that Google itself didn't design it. So the actual face has a definite googly vibe to it, same sort of minimal, uncluttered style we've come to expect from Google's interfaces as of late. But this isn't just a pretty face. All design stuff aside, 3 things in particular really make it stand out to me. Number 1, it's almost insanely customizable. You can control practically every part of how this thing looks, the size and number of widgets it shows you, the color of virtually every element you see on the screen, even the style of a clock. All you gotta do is press and hold your finger onto your watch screen after you install the thing and then tap the little editing icon that comes up. You can even tell the face to use that controversial, love it or hate it, Android 12 style 2-line clock, if you're into that sort of thing. I know there are some pretty strong opinions about that around here. Number 2, it's functional. Those widgets we were just talking about, you can set them to be shortcuts to practically anything you want. One-tap links to basic built-in watch functions, custom app shortcuts, calendar info, you name it. And number 3, probably my favorite feature of all, is that this watch face can seamlessly integrate with your Android phone's notifications. It can show them right there on your main default watch face home screen of sorts, as you can see there at the bottom. It acts just like your Android phone's status bar area, really. You got the simple little icons showing you whatever alerts you've got pending. That way you can always know what's up at a glance. And now you can still swipe up on the watch's screen to see or interact with any of those notifications, as you'd expect. But having that at-a-glance view is just a super useful addition. Honestly, something so sensible for this form, it's almost shocking that other watch faces don't offer it, especially once you get used to having it around. The Pixel Minimal Watch Face is completely free to download and try. Some of its more advanced options and controls do require a one-time $3 upgrade to the app's premium version. It's $3 really well spent, if you ask me. And again, it'll work on any Wear OS watch, not just the Pixel Watch. We'll throw a link into the show notes for this week's episode so you can find it easily. And hey, if you love fun little tips like these, be sure to come check out my Android Intelligence newsletter next. It brings you 3 cool new things to try in your inbox every single Friday. No cost, no catch, just pure, oozy, high-calorie goodness. Head over to androidintel.net/twit to get in on the action. That site again is androidintel.net/twit. I'll see you there, and I'll see you right back here next week.
Thank you, JR. That's awesome.
I will say I did come across this watch face in my watch face adventures, so it is very cool. So I can echo this one.
Very customizable.
Yeah, that's great.
Nice. Pixel Minimal Watch Face. Look for it in the Play Store. And again, he also pointed out, like, this isn't just for the Pixel Watch. This is for any Wear OS devices that you might have. So there you go. Thank you, JR. Keep it up. Awesome stuff. All right. Up next, the final block of feedback. One more opportunity for one of you to get the email of the week. But first,
quick email in now. See if we'll get it in at the wire.
Yeah, you go ahead and do that, and we'll see if it works. But first, before we get to your feedback, let's take a break and thank the sponsor of this episode. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by Rocket Money. Are you wasting money on subscriptions? We all have a lot of subscriptions these days, right? 80% of people have subscriptions that they forgot about. Can you imagine, like, you've got so many subscriptions that you actually forget that you have one because you're just not using it. It just falls by the wayside. Maybe for you, it's an unused Amazon Prime account, or maybe it's a Hulu account that just never gets streamed. You know, sometimes we're paying for these things, but like nothing's really calling to us to actually watch. And so we don't, recognize that, that it's there, and we're still paying for it. There's this great app that we use that helps you track all of your expenses. And it kind of does this for you. It helps you track your subscriptions. Because of it, you aren't going to waste any more money on subscriptions that you aren't using. And it's called Rocket Money. It's formerly known as Truebill. Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost? Most Americans think they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions, when the actual total is closer to $200 or more. That's right. You could be wasting hundreds of dollars every month on subscriptions you don't even know about. The Rocket Money app shows all of your subscriptions in one place, and then it cancels those subscriptions that you don't actually want anymore. So it'll cancel them for you. Rocket Money can even find subscriptions you didn't know you were paying for, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. You don't even know that you're paying for it, but meanwhile, it adds up. It's real money. You may even find out you've been double charged for subscription. To cancel a subscription, all you have to do is press cancel, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Doesn't it seem like it's so difficult, if not sometimes impossible, to actually cancel these online subscriptions too? Sometimes they make these systems so complicated, or if you stop using a service, you forget that it's on a recurring subscription. That charge is probably coming somewhere down the line. And I think to a certain degree, they probably bank on that, right? That's probably a portion of their expected income. That's why Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is truly awesome. That's why you really got to check it out. Get rid of useless subscriptions with Rocket Money now. Go to rocketmoney.com/Android. And seriously, it could save you hundreds per year. That's rocketmoney.com/Android. Cancel your unnecessary subscriptions right now. One more time, rocketmoney.com/Android. Go there. That lets them know that you heard about it from All About Android, and take care of the subscriptions. You don't need them all. You really don't. We thank Rocket Money for their support of All About Android. All right, the final block of email. I will go first here. Jack Turner from Phoenix wrote in to say, beside the watch being able to replace my phone when it isn't with me, the reason that I want a smartwatch is customizability. I like to be able to create my own watch face. I like to have complete control of what different items in the watch face link to. I use my watch at work as a timer and a rep counter. Those functions could be built into a fitness watch, but I can download the one I want from the Play Store when it's like a smartwatch. That actually totally ties in with what JR was showing off in his app pick for the wearables. And that is something like a few episodes back, we asked, like, what is it about a smartwatch that people want that they aren't getting from a fitness watch? And really, when it comes down to it, that's probably a big part of it, right? Customizability. You can do so much more with the smartwatch. Obviously, it comes at the expense of your battery, and you know what I mean? If you're doing a lot more with it, potentially it's a lot more cycles going through that thing. It's using a lot more battery in the process. So you got to kind of balance it a little bit, but having that ability, having that flexibility is a really big benefit for a lot of people. So that must be a really big reason why people like Jack use and prefer to have a smartwatch over a fitness wearable, something like that.
Sure. Makes sense.
For sure.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. So thank you, Jack.
I like Jack's nickname, by the way.
Control Alt Jack.
Yes.
Control Alt Jack. I like that.
Very good.
So.
There we go. Control Alt Jack. Nice. All right, Wayne, you got the next one.
All right. Well, we got Paul writing to us about podcasting apps. So Paul writes, I've been emailing Pocket Cast for a Wear OS version since I bought my Galaxy Watch 4, not LTE, the one with a rotating bezel, I think 2 years ago. I get the standard response that if more people ask for this, they'll consider it. Yeah. I feel that. It's frustrating to go to their website to see their proud support for the Apple Watch and no mention of Wear OS. I'm willing to pay for Wear OS support. The Google Podcast app doesn't support Wear OS. I refuse to subscribe to Spotify, given I'm a Google Music subscriber. Why doesn't YouTube Music support podcasts? Last, as bad as the app is, I pay for the premium version of Wearcasts. I need the ability to listen at 1.6x speed. Requires premium. As you know, this leaves a lot to be desired, but they do work in the app. By the way, I can only upload to the watch via Wi-Fi. Yeah, that actually is a stinker that they have Apple Watch support, but no Wear OS support.
Yeah.
So just like an extra kick in the teeth a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an absolute joke. And like, honestly, like, I'm a paid user of Pocket Casts, and I think it's a huge fail and miss that they don't have Wear OS capability support. The fact, his point that Google Podcasts app doesn't even support it is like, honestly, I don't know, Jason, I don't know if you've tried it. Go try the Wearcast app that comes default on the Pixel Watch. Like it's already, like it's installed on it already because they know that there's no podcast support. It is absolute garbage. Oh, boy. Absolute garbage. Like I almost wrote a review on the app on the Play Store saying this app is garbage, but I didn't want to, I didn't want to do it that much. But I figure I've got enough of a platform here. But it's completely, and I know Spotify's on the watch and Spotify's there. I don't use Spotify, so that's not a solve for me. So
yeah, that is for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah.
This Spotify's got a lot of people who subscribe to it. So for sure, I'm sure that solves that. But are all podcasts on Spotify? I mean, I guess
pretty much.
At this point,
Spotify's pretty much like Pocket Casts and Apple Podcasts, in that they're all, at least all mine are there. I've never. Yeah,
I would prefer to use Pocket Casts, no question, for podcasts. That's just what I use on my phone. On the 7 Pro that I'm using right now. So I would prefer to use Pocket Casts. I suppose, if it doesn't exist, what are the alternatives? And for me, I do have a Spotify membership, so I could use it there. But not my preference.
This is so frustrating.
Yeah.
This is again, more themes and what we always talk about. And Lorana, as you say, left hand doesn't know what right hand is doing. And I feel like part of this watch release was to get support from the other apps at Google and
get people excited, get developers excited to actually develop for all of these different places. And that's what kind of blows me away about that. If Pocket Cast isn't, then who is? You know what I mean?
Right.
My overall point was that Pocket Casts, I feel like my memory of Pocket Casts, because we've had a pretty good relationship with Pocket Casts over the years on this show, has been that they've been pretty developer focused, or very engaged from a developer standpoint. So honestly, it just kind of surprises me that they don't have the Wear OS thing figured out, and I wonder if they will or if they plan to. I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised. Clearly, if you we talked about it when we were talking about it on the show a couple weeks ago, is that Pocket Cast has been through the ringer. They had a bad acquisition. Now they're part of Automatic, right? Which their main business isn't podcasts, right? And so it's going to suffer, and this is an example of how it's suffering.
I just wonder if literally if this giving this away is literally just please, here, we're gonna open your hand, we're gonna put the Pixel Watch in there, dear Lord in all the heavens above, please write us apps for this. And I just feel like it's getting to that point. And I know it really sucks. I do understand the ROI thing though, and I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do about it because I'm as enthusiastic as I am about it, it's so hard, especially when you get owned by big companies, to justify time and money spent. It gets even more worse. But this disconnect is not helping, and I don't know if it's a chicken egg problem. I don't know if it's just trying to do things when you have 3,000 or 4,000 different moving parts at Google. But then from a consumer perspective, from our perspective, we just see an experience that's bad, that is incomplete, and that is disjointed.
Yeah, exactly that. Right. It does. It does feel that way. It does feel disjointed. And I feel like that's kind of poisonous for the effort in general,
I hate that I'm saying all this because I hate that I'm saying all this because there's a lot of really great tech behind here, but that's the reality of it.
Interesting. I will say, I did not see this going in this direction when it came to the Pixel Watch. Before we actually had it on our wrists and have had our experiences, and before we've heard from people who have had their experiences and everything, I did not anticipate that the Pixel Watch was going to disappoint so many.
Yeah.
But it really seems like it is. I'm kind of surprised by that, but yeah.
By the way, I'm going down a rabbit hole of reading the reviews of the Wearcasts app in the Google Play Store, and I'm not the only one. Literally, some the most recent review is October 28th, 2022. It says the app is buggy, requires disconnecting the watch to load podcasts to the watch. It leaves the connection off, and the app on the phone is useless while this is happening. Worst of all, podcasts constantly stall out in the middle of playback. Oof. Right? Same issues that I'm having. Yep.
Not good.
All right. Well, I need a little pick me up now. So
cleanse that palate.
602 episodes. Congratulations, Howard from San Diego. You are the final email of the week on this Feedback-a-Palooza episode. Howard from San Diego writes in and said, I started using smartwatches in 2013 with the original Pebble Kickstarter. Man, Jason, you remember covering that when that happened?
Absolutely.
Yeah, wow.
Yes.
Almost 10 years ago. Crazy.
That is
I had
crazy.
various Pebbles that I used until early 2020 when I thought I needed/wanted the cardiac features and got a version 1 Fitbit Sense. The Sense was fitness first and a smartwatch second, and I did not enjoy it. I've had the Pixel Watch for just under a week. This is finally a step up from the Pebble. The UI is watch first, then fitness. I am 69 years old and my exercise is walking and lawn bowling. Don't laugh. And Howard, no laughing. Lawn bowling's fun. I'm with you. You're all good. No laughing. Being a nerd, I do like to track even that small amount of exercise, and this works great for that. There's a large number of available complications on the watch, and they are interactive, i.e. I can click on the weather complication, and the weather app opens. The first few days, I was able to kill the battery in about 14 hours using always-on screen outdoors, GPS, and maps. I've also been able to make the watch last 33 hours, 2 nights, and all one day. I am looking forward to their next generation. By the way, I downloaded the face that J.R. Raphael recommended, and it is my go-to watch face. Anyone that is not enrolled in his free newsletter is missing out. And that's a callback to the tip that we just saw from JR a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah. Also in his newsletter.
So there it is, the Pixel Minimal Watch Face. But thank you, Howard. I'm glad that you're having a great time with your Pixel Watch. It sounds like it's doing the right thing for you, and that's awesome. Just don't go try and listen to a podcast. So...
or use Spotify for the podcast or something.
So I gotta say, here we are at the end of episode 602.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be away on Friday, so I've got to make the decision in the next 36 hours if I'm gonna get rid of this thing. But right now, I'm leaning towards returning it and getting my $400 back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you'd be justified. You've had a couple of really not great experiences with it.
Yeah. And what's funny is that my wife actually asked me when I came back, and I was just complaining about it, and she's like, "Oh no, what are you going to do for the race next weekend?" And I was like, "Oh no, for races I don't screw around. I use these earbuds wired into my phone. Like I do not I cannot have any distractions. Right. So like I'm going old school and like as analog as possible."
Yeah, that makes sense. Go with what you know works.
I will say, in its defense, the Adidas running app did not crash on my run, and it saved it, and it synced with the Adidas running app on the phone, and all that worked. The only thing that's different is that on the Adidas running app, the running app itself gives you audio. It tells you like when you pass, like you can tell it to like there's a voice coach, and the Wear OS app doesn't have that. So I was like, that's a little less than. So
okay. Well, Howard, thank you for sending in your email because we needed a positive to balance the negative. I feel like there was a lot of Pixel Watch negative today.
Good stacking, for sure.
So we needed a little palate cleanser. So I'm happy it's working for you. You are definitely representative of a portion of the people who have their Pixel Watch, and I think there are a portion of the Pixel Watch owners who are disappointed as well. When remains to be seen. It all depends on once you can get.
Can't even try it.
I know.
You got to RMA that, and you just got to follow through with that. When we need an answer.
I'm gonna give it one more shot. I might just uninstall everything, give it one more shot, and then I'm gonna RMA it.
So challenging.
And then
you should factory wipe your phone.
Start over with everything.
I actually want to try the Pixel 7. I might. This might be like in an odd way the way I get into actually using the Pixel 7 as my daily driver because I just really like my fold. And I just for some reason I feel like I've never had a bad pairing experience between Pixel things and Pixel things. Yeah. So I don't know. I know that might be silly. That might be just the wrong direction. This just really just needs an RMA, but I want to try that too.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to give up on it. And plus, honestly, I will say I really do think there's a lot of potential for Wear OS. So I'm gonna get one that works, and I'm gonna play around with Wear OS and Compose or Compose for Wear OS. Sweet. Have a drink.
Be the change you want to see in the developer world. I don't know.
I mean, that's what it's gonna take, I guess. To make Fetch a thing. I mean, to make Wear OS a thing. So
yeah, right. That's kind of where I was going. Cool.
Yeah, kind of.
Right. Well, good luck. I hope it all
Thank you.
actually ends up working for you.
I do too. I genuinely do. I genuinely do too.
Well, and thank you to everyone for sending in so much wonderful feedback. unsurprising, yes, and to Howard for the email of the week. Unsurprisingly, we did have others. We just couldn't fit them all in this episode. So keep them coming. We love hearing from you. It tells us that you're listening and that you're engaged and that you want to be part of the conversation. That's as important to us as it is hopefully to you. So thank you. AAA@twit.tv if you want to have your voice heard on the show. We love it. But we are now at the end of this episode, and it was a lot of fun. And so this is the moment where we all get to talk about the things we do outside of All About Android. Starting with you, Ron, what you got?
Yeah, head over to Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at RonXO. You can follow me along this weekend as I go to Disney World and run a half marathon. I'll be probably posting Instagram stories a lot. And check out Scorebit if you're into pinball. We're in the Google Play Store. You download the mobile app or go to scorebit.io to check out our hardware. Connecting pinball machines to the internet is lots of fun. So.
Nice. Yes, it is. Thank you, Ron. And what about you, Win?
You can find my technical talks and accompanying video and code, because I do technical talks on Android and other things related to Android development at randomlytyping.com. And you can otherwise find me on the interwebs at Queen Code Monkey, for now on Instagram and Twitter.
Very nice. All right. Thank you. You can find J.R. Raphael at Android Intelligence. Was it androidintelligence.com/twit, I believe? Go check out his newsletter and everything. And thank you, JR, for a wonderful tip once again. Thank you to Burke here in the studio for navigating a whole host of of graphics for each email. So thank you for everything that you do, Burke. Thank you to Victor for creating all those graphics, but also doing all of the stuff after the show is done to bring you the podcast so you can listen and watch on your Pixel Watch or not, wherever you happen to listen to your podcast. You can find me at Jason Howell on Twitter, doing Tech News Weekly every Thursday, twit.tv/TNW, and then, of course, producing a number of Leo's shows behind the scenes. Do not forget Club Twit. No, don't forget it, because it's awesome. It's an ad-free subscription tier for all of our content. You get it with no ads. You also get exclusive Twit Plus podcast feed content, its own separate feed that only you have access to, along with other club members. Tons of extra content, Stacy's Book Club, Hands on Windows, Hands on Mac, just a whole lot of goodness over there. And then a members-only Discord that you get access to. $7 a month. You can pay for the full year, $84 if you like. That's twit.tv/clubtwit. As for this show, we do the show every Tuesday. So if you go to twit.tv/AAA, you can find all the information you need to know on how to subscribe. All of our past episodes, you can start from episode 1 and let us know how that goes if you're binging our episodes. Let us know what that's like. Twit.tv/AAA. But that's it for this week's episode. We'll see y'all next time on All About Android. Bye, everybody.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and I am the host of Hands-On Photography here on Twit TV. I know you got yourself a fancy smartphone, you got yourself a fancy camera, but your pictures are still lacking. Can't quite figure out what the heck shutter speed means? Watch my show. I got you covered. Want to know more about just the ISO and exposure triangle in general? Yeah, I got you covered. Or if you got all of that down, you want to get into lighting, making things look better by changing the lights around you. I got you covered on that too. So check us out each and every Thursday here on the network. Go to twit.tv/hop and subscribe today.